We saw that Kel underwent a lot of trauma. Well, the pain that he's healed from, he illustrates very beautifully. It seems like his ex-wife cheated on him a lot. He even talked about taking his life, and a part of that was due to the trauma that he experienced. Hey, Conscious Crew. We are back with another episode of the Conscious Creative Corner podcast where we unpack trauma to heal our relationships. I am your host, Sia, the Transparent Therapist, and today we are unpacking some trauma that we heard in the Club Shay Shay interview. The Kel interview, where it had Kel, Ty Tribbett, which I'm super excited because I'm going to go see him next month. It was such a great interview, and I must say that though some of the transitions were a little shaky, the information was great. In the podcast episode, we saw that Kel underwent a lot of trauma. And today I want to use this as a case study to explain to you guys how some of us can fall into these traumatic experiences that we like to call trauma bonds in the clinical world. Now, trauma bonds happens when maybe you and a friend or you and someone else get into an experience that is highly emotional, and then you form this connection. Interestingly enough, we can have trauma bonds with our friends and families already, and it could be due to something like a shared experience, like experiencing a death of a loved one, going through a traumatic event like some sort of act of violence, and we don't necessarily bond with these people just because of the trauma, but we bond because of the emotional or shared experience. Now, a lot of us can remember in the States when 9/11 happened. A lot of people who were on site created these trauma bonds because they remember seeing the planes crash into the towers. A lot of things happened in Kel's interview that dictate to me that him and his ex-girlfriend were trauma bonded. Now, if you recall, which I know the episode just dropped, so if you haven't watched it, please go to Club Shay Shay's platform and watch it. But if you recall, Kel starts to talk about how he was going through so much while he was on the set of Nickelodeon, and he was really going through the motions. He even talked about taking his life, right? And a part of that was due to the trauma that he experienced. I want to take this time out to say that whatever I'm about to talk about, it's a trigger warning for some, because some of you guys listening might have already been in this situation and have not had the opportunity to heal from your trauma. So if this is you and you're feeling like, okay, I'm going to get triggered, I can feel sensations in my body that are indicating to me that I'm becoming a little uncomfortable, pause the video, because I'm not in a space with you to help. However, if you feel that you're in a good space to listen, let's get into it. So, long story short, Kel talks to Shannon Sharpe about being on the set of Nickelodeon and having to deal with a lot of his own personal trauma. He didn't necessarily talk about the allegations that are going on, but his personal trauma, which made us see a side of Kel that we're not familiar with. I found it very refreshing for him to open up. And because he is a man of faith and a man of God, he felt the need to tell us, because a lot of us are walking around here like we've never been through some stuff. And if you looked at my past video, I also make that transparent. Though I'm a therapist, I am still a person. My tagline is I'm a therapist who happens to be a human. And I do that for a reason, because a lot of us are going through things and we never open up about it. Pardon me. So he goes on to say that he was in this very toxic relationship. And in the relationship, him and his ex-wife, who he did marry and then divorce, had a baby and then had to abort it. And now, I'm giving y'all the very surface level introduction here to his trauma, simply because I want you guys to go watch it, because the pain that the pain that he's healed from, he illustrates very beautifully in the podcast episode. So he's with this girl. She cheats on him. They have a baby together, or I'm sorry, he impregnates her. He then they have an abortion, right? After they have the abortion, he finds out sometime down the line that the baby wasn't even his, right? So let's think about what we just heard. One, he gets pregnant, or they get pregnant. He is afraid to tell his parents. A lot of us on here have had family members who of the faith, right? Or just family members who have values in marriage before children. We get pregnant and then we're scared to tell our family about it because of the scrutiny. That can be internally traumatic for a person, right? Because you're holding this secret. And we know that secrets, they destroy families, they destroy people. 2, they have an abortion. After having this abortion, 3, he finds out that the baby wasn't even his. Kel goes on to say that this woman, his ex-wife, cheats on him several times. So much to the point where he probably, I don't even know how many times. I want to say maybe somebody in the comments said he avoided 5 jackets, which means that he avoided in patois, a jacket is a person. A jacket is a baby that doesn't belong to you, okay? So he avoided 5 jackets, meaning that he avoided 5 babies. I don't think that's what he was alluded to, but that's what somebody in the comments said. And so the portions that I did catch, because I watched it live, it seems like his wife or ex-wife cheated on him a lot. Now, I want to pause here to say the reason why some people stay in relationships that are not good for them is because of their attachment styles. Some of our attachment styles make us believe that if we are not connected to someone, we can't go on. I am not here to say I'm Kel's therapist, but if I'm looking at this as a case study and thinking about a person who has gone through some of these things, but yet still kept on going in this relationship, it makes me feel like they might have had an insecure attachment style, maybe even one that's on the anxious side. There's so many different terms here, but they all mean the same thing. So an anxious attachment style is someone who maybe in childhood they have had a person or a caregiver in their life who didn't necessarily give them what they needed secure wise, right? So maybe whenever they had issues, their parent would turn them away. They didn't have any time for them. So they would try to gain as much security as possible while trying to connect with them. So always still in their face, as in the child still like begging for this parent's need, right? This translates into adult relationships because when we're with our partners, maybe you and your partner get into a fight. And in this fight, your partner's like, listen, I don't want to talk anymore. And you're just like, if you're the anxious partner, no, I want to talk. I need to talk. I need to talk. I need to talk. Right. An avoidant partner might say, look, I don't want to talk with you right now. I need my space. And they cut you off. The thing is, an anxious partner does not like to be cut off because they desire and need attention and connection.
I get it. We're all stressed. And sometimes we wonder if we have to even get up in the morning. Sometimes we wonder if that job is really worth it. The thing is, I understand these struggles because I hear these struggles with my clients every day. And I thought it would be a good idea to help build a community where we can feel less stressed. So I created the Less Stress community. If you want to join this community, you just text the word stress to 860-401-0207. In the community, you're going to receive 3 texts a week. Yes, 3 texts a week that is going to help elevate your understanding on trauma and how stress affects the body. I'm going to provide you personally prompts that are going to help you reflect. They're going to push you into a space of healing, whether you know that you've gone through trauma or not. You know, I did this because a lot of my clients struggle. And of course, you only see me once a week or maybe twice a month. But I knew it would be very helpful for someone to be able to just use the text that they get to push them through some hard times. The best thing is it's only $17 a month and you can quit at any time. But trust me, you're not going to want to because there's some amazing individuals in the community that can help you. So not only do you receive text, but you're also going to be able to converse and exchange stories and share your prompts with other like-minded individuals who want to heal. So I don't know what you're waiting for because I'm texting everybody right now. Make sure you hit the stress text community or less stress text community by typing stress in your phone to the number 860-401-0207. And I'll text y'all inside.
I'm not saying Kel needed attention, but I think he very much so desired the connection that he did have with his ex-wife, right? So he's saying that this happened in a span of 30 years, right? So he goes on to eventually they have kids together, and when they have kids together, he goes on to say that, you know, they break up, and finally they break up after some time, and I think it was either before or after. So y'all tell me, y'all like checking me in the comments. So I know y'all good for it. It was either before or after he was doing a shoot in Canada, and he was going to take his life, right? And that's when he started to develop these. They call them creature comforts, right? So creature comforts are things in the attachment world where if somebody is disconnected from a partner, it's a comforting tactic that they use. Maybe creature comforts could be like someone going to the club all the time, right? Drinking all the time, maybe hanging out with friends because they're no longer attached to that person, their significant other. So his creature comfort was drinking because he said that he started to drink a lot. Now, mind you, present day Kel is a minister or pastor. And again, y'all, I missed the first half of the interview. I only caught maybe like the last hour and a half ish of it. But from what it sounded like, he is a pastor. And so in this, like it's amazing that he's able to reflect on this and look back, right? So in this trauma bond that they initially had in the beginning, right, where they both lost a child, right? And it's important for us to recognize that they both lost a child because the baby was aborted. I don't know how many of you guys are listening here, but when people abort babies, loss is loss. It can be called, it is still looked at as a traumatic experience. So there was that. The thing is, I want y'all to look at your own lives. Is there a person in your life that you're probably connected to or bonded to that you don't have no business being bonded to? Is your attachment style keeping you in this toxic relationship? And again, it doesn't have to be platonic. It can be very familial. It can be one of friendship. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but is there someone in your life that you are 100% attached to because of your own insecure attachment? Now, Kel talks about how he shut everybody out, right? Which also tells me that, and let me say this, on the attachment style spectrum, you're never always just one thing, right? We have traits of all of them. Sometimes we're dominantly avoidant, or sometimes we're dominantly dismissive, and other people call it disorganized. Sometimes we're dominantly anxious. But he started to shut the world off because he said, I can't trust nobody. So he's going through these things in his head. And he said that day that he almost took his life, that's when he found faith. So I want to take this moment to really address how this story was so powerful. And some of you guys are going to watch this interview because what he goes on to say, y'all probably just not going to believe. But those of y'all believers on here, he starts to get real spiritual. Okay. He goes on to say that after some time he had I remember him saying Essence Atkins, and Essence Atkins is from Smart Guy, right? The sister in Smart Guy. He was in a room with Essence Atkins, some other celebrities, like the guy from One on One, I think Dwayne, I don't remember his real name. He was there, and so they all are praying, and I forget how they come to this portion, but they start to pray, and the praying mother of the group, right, the one that's leading the prayer, she starts to say like, hey, some of you guys have bonds in your life that you don't got no business having, right? And we do know that soul ties are real. And so she instructs them to say like their names out loud. And before she says that, Kel says that during the prayer, you're seeing everybody kind of vomit. You're seeing people, you're seeing people bodies contort. And when I'm looking at the comments, people just like, huh? But y'all, when I say that this is real, it's real. Ask me how I know. So I'm gonna cut it real quick. In my own experience, I have prayed in tongues. Um, do pray in tongues. I have seen demons. It's crazy. And for some time, I stayed away from it because it scared me. And we understand that when I was staying away from it, I was operating from the flesh. And I was just like, yeah, God, I'm not here for it. It scared me, meaning that God wasn't fully present, or God was always present, but I wasn't accepting God, right? Because we know that if there's fear, there is no God. God and fear do not belong in the same sentence. And so I know it's real, right? I can't forget this time where I was in high school and I had a friend, and we had like this, they used to call it like a fireside chat or something like that. And we had a group of women come, and it was just all women. And I want to say my friend's mom started to pray. And one of my friends, she started, uh, she started speaking like a demon. And so when they heard that, they went to her and they started to pray the spirit out of her. Her body was contorting. Her body was doing all kind of things. And I was like, yo, that was my first time experiencing something like that. Then when I got deeper into my faith, there was this concert. Actually, it was a concert at my church where we used to call it the youth experience or youth conference or whatever. And we had Tetra come. And I remember I got to meet Tetra, but at that same concert, one of my jobs was to make sure that people were good. Some of the guests were good. And one of the guests that came, not with Tetra's crew, but somebody else that came to like open for him, she had to go to the bathroom. She said, "Where's the bathroom?" So I show her where the bathroom is. I'm standing outside the bathroom door. She's inside the bathroom. All I hear is banging. And I'm like, what's going on? Because mind you, nobody else is in the bathroom with her. There's like 4 other stalls. All I hear is banging. I hear screaming. And so then you see one of like the ministers come running, because obviously I'm in shock and I was still very confused. But the minister comes running from around the corner into the bathroom, and the minister busts open the door and starts praying, and she starts screaming. And when he busts open the door, I see this woman, I kid you not, crawling up the walls. Okay. So I say that to say, in this interview where Kel is talking about the spiritual realm is very, 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 very real. And because it's real, it's important for us to know that just because we are trauma bonded with someone, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just a trauma. People can also, energies transfer, right? It does not die, energies transfer. Energies we can also substitute with the word spirits. So we can see that he even alludes to the fact that the woman, while they're praying, says that somebody's put a hex on you. He might not have used the word hex, but I'm thinking juju, right? Obia, that's what we call it. Right? And he's just like, you need to say her name out loud. And so then Kel goes on to say that all of the demons or the spirits that had taken place in him, they start coming out, and he's hearing their names and things like that. And I say that this came from attachment because attachment styles has to do with relationship. When I say attachment, I'm talking about the spirit of an attachment, right? And I firmly believe, right? Maybe there's not research out here, but we also attach ourselves insecurely to certain spirits that make us anxious, that make us avoidant. Y'all confirm me in the comments if you want to, but I know who God is. So it's my platform, and I'm going to say what I want. And God's going to lead me. But that's not to negate the fact that from a psychological or neuroscience background, I understand how our attachments and our brains work and how trauma lives in our body, right? So every time, every time Kel experienced some kind of traumatic thing in his life, that trauma took root in his body. Let's say, for instance, you go to the doctor and you don't like needles, and you know every time you go to the doctor, you're going to end up having to get a shot. What happens? You go into the doctor's office, your body starts to tense up, right? The trauma that you perceived, and I know some of y'all are like, well, trauma is not getting a shot. Let me tell you something. Our emotions have no orientation. So the way in which we perceive things can be real or not real. Our emotions just know how to be. And so when you're going into the doctor's office, if you as a child or even as an adult had a bad experience, it then gets classified into a major stressor. It's not necessarily a big T trauma, but it's a little T trauma. And we have to remember that. So your body starts to tense up. Your body remembers what the trauma feels like. The same thing happens when we're trauma bonded or we're going through traumatic experiences. Our body remembers. There's this book called The Body Keeps a Score. Go read it, y'all. Go read it. It's a lot of what I base my work off of through EMDR. So Kel's body is constantly reminded of these traumatic things, and they just build. They're like building blocks until they topple over. And sometimes when they topple over, it looks like, yep, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to take my life. And for others, sometimes it looks like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I'm going to isolate myself. I fall into a deep state of depression, and that's it. I just thought it was beautiful how Kel's vulnerability illustrated the life, right? Even outside of being a celebrity, he was still a person. And him being a person just shows us that our attachments matter. Now, let's say, for instance, that Kel was probably securely attached. There's no doubt in my mind that if he was securely attached, he wouldn't have put up with some of the things that he did in those relationships. But they're all learning experiences. And as the Bible says, he counted all as joy, right? So he learned through these experiences what his life was going to look like. And I think it got him to the point where he is now, where he's become a minister or a pastor, one of the two, which same thing. Well, pastors, minister, not all ministers are pastors. So I'll say that. But again, take this time out to really learn about who you are, how you're attached to others, and what your attachment style is. Now, I don't want you guys to learn about attachment styles and then say, well, this is my parents' fault, because no, I think your parents were doing the best they could. We also have a video, or I have a video on the channel about emotional attachment styles and unburdening and healing yourself from your emotionally immature parents. I would highly recommend you go watch it because it's very informative. It has to do with a book. And so you guys could probably go check out that book too. But it's no fault of our parents. It's just honestly how the cards were dealt to us. So learn about it, move from it. And if y'all really enjoy this, I don't mind doing another in-depth, not just about Kel, but just in general about attachment styles and trauma. Because again, our whole goal is to unpack our trauma to heal our relationships. And that relationship can be with God. It could be with yourself. It could be with a loved one. It's important. So learn how to heal. Learn how to be more self-aware. Learn how to address some of the trauma that occurs within you. I'm super excited, y'all, because I have a new community dropping real soon before June is over. And I think this is going to be super helpful for you guys. It's a texting community where I'm going to drop my knowledge on trauma and highly stressed people and how we can daily move from it. It's me at your fingertips. So y'all be sure y'all look out for that because it's coming. All right, guys, real quick. We're going to do a very quick cultural corner for the culture. Yeah! Today on our cultural corner, usually you see me do interactions with others, but today I'm just going to teach you a little something. Did you know that Jamaica is actually one of those populations that have many different people? And the slogan, out of many one people, is because of the triangular trade, right? If y'all know nothing about the triangular trade, read up on something, right? It just means that though we think about Jamaica, when we think about Jamaicans, y'all might think one thing, like it's only one person or one subset of people that look like they're from Jamaica. That's not true. Okay. We have that saying because there's so many different people that make us one. So that's just what I wanted to share with y'all on today's For the Culture. In the conscious creative corner, we gather together for the culture. Before y'all go, I honestly think the best video for y'all to watch is going to pop up on the screen right here. So make sure you click it because I know you're going to like it and I know you're going to learn from it. All right, y'all. Walk good, keep the vibes high, and I will see y'all in the next episode where we can connect. Bye.